I want to bring back Evie Pomperus, a former Secret Service agent. I don't know if you heard my interview with the district attorney a few moments ago. He was describing there's an elevated area and perhaps of several hundred yards around this site. It's been pointed out that the wound received by Mr. Trump was on his right cheek. What are you able to put together as you visualize this?
You know, as I'm listening to the whole thing and we're hearing that the threat, in the terms that we would use, the threat's been neutralized, right? We understand, and what we're hearing is that the shooter is no longer alive. I'm thinking, how did that shooter get taken out? And was that shooter taken out actually at a distance? One of the elements you typically have when it comes to protection, you have counter sniper team. Sometimes the Secret Service will have their own team. Other times, if there are not enough resources, which can happen during a campaign season like this, if everybody's stretched out too thin, you may use a local element. So when I hear that the individual from a distance was shooting, I always think immediately of that counter sniper element. Was somebody able to take that person out? Now, when you have counter sniper, your counter snipers are always going to be at an elevated position. So if you're in an urban environment, they're going to be up in high-rise buildings. If you're in an environment like this, they're going to be maybe on any podiums or any stands, anything that gives them elevation. And what they're doing, Lester, consistently is they are looking out through their scopes, through their binoculars. They're looking out, and they're looking what's going on in the distance. So immediately, again, I'm assessing based on what we've done in the past. When you hear those sounds, you're immediately going to look to the direction of where those sounds go. You're going to engage eyesight-wise to see what do you see, and then is there a target to engage. So that's one way in which you can neutralize a threat. Another way that you can neutralize a threat from a distance is there will be a team on the ground. So the snipers are up top, they're seeing things, they're calling things out. You also have a team on the ground that can respond. So it's possibility that that team on the ground, whether Secret Service or local law enforcement, immediately went to that location if they're able to determine that location. So that's what you're going to think about when it comes to line of sight. And look, line of sight is one of the worst things. A lot of times when we have these outdoor events or the president speak in certain areas, you actually use the landscape to help you. And we've gone even to the extent of trees and bushes and anything you can think of to break line of sight. Line of sight is that one thing it makes you extremely vulnerable because it's such a hard thing to control, especially from a distance. And, and to follow up to, as I'm watching the reporting here, and we see the agents coming in, and you brought this up before, that the agents shielded the president and they're looking for wounds. You're correct. So as soon as they get the president off the stage, they go immediately into the vehicle and they're checking him for other wounds. And we actually saw a scenario like this play out with then President Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan, same thing. He was outdoors. The difference with him, it was an arrival departure movement. So he's moving from a secure location to the car, and he's moving to the car, shots are fired. Now, at first glance, Reagan didn't look like he had anything. He looked okay. But his then detail leader in the vehicle actually searched him, and what they found was a small wound, and they found the gunshot wound, but that was not discovered until inside the vehicle. So although you're seeing him initially outside, he's standing, you see Donald Trump give the fist pump, but you really want to check him when he's in the car. And then from there, what you're going to do is you're going to take him to a hospital. So I know there was reporting that he was at some type of medical facility, a hospital, we're presuming. That's another thing that's put into basically the strategic response. You always have a hospital. That hospital, when you pick one, you're looking for something called a Trauma 1 hospital. Why do you want Trauma 1 hospital? A Trauma 1 hospital is a hospital that can deal with gunshot wounds. They can deal with mass trauma. So when you have a protectee, the idea, and in training, you understand that if they're going to be attacked, it's going to be likely with a weapon, a shot. So you want to take your protectee to a facility that can treat gunshot wounds, that can treat serious trauma. So it's very likely that the facility that Donald Trump was taken to was a facility like this. There's always an agent there in advance. They go in advance to speak to the medical staff. So there is a medical protocol that is put in place so that when something like this happens, The hospital and that agent is already there to receive the president and to do an assessment on him.
Let me ask you about who makes the decision as to how the venues are used. Does the campaign simply call up and say, hey, we're going to be at this site, you guys figure out how to secure it? Or do you tend to work together with the campaigns? How does that go?
You know, it's usually the first, and it's probably one of the hardest things. The U.S. Secret Service works really hard to try not to intervene, not to interfere in their protectees' movements. Look, the President of the United States, a former president, when they're campaigning, they need to be with the people, shaking hands, talking to everybody. Secret Service, you want to keep them secure. You want to keep them away from everyone. So the goal is to try to let them do their job, because they're a person of the people. So who do they need to be with? The people. So Secret Service typically allows staff to pick the locations. We will go there. It's very, very rare. I have to say, I don't think I've ever seen it where they were told, no, you can't do it here. They are an agency that is very can-do. We can do this. I have to tell you, at first glance, even with this location, I don't see anything different than the other rallies I've been to myself. So this is quite common. Now, Secret Service can say no, but you really have to have a good reason as to why you're going to say no and justify that.
Evie, thank you. You continue to provide us with rich information as we try to visualize all these things and understand it and really interpret some of the video we've been seeing. We appreciate it. We'll ask you to stand by.